pretty well. We are into this industry for more than 5 years, and we understand, when someone comes to a webinar, what are the expectations, right? You must be, going through that phase where you have a lot of questions in mind, right? And by the end of this webinar, you will be able to answer all of those questions. Those questions will be answered, right? So you will understand Hadoop better, you will understand big data better, but more than that, you will have your doubts cleared, right? So here are a few questions that you might have while you come to this webinar. The first question that anyone has in mind is, do I need a training? Do I actually need a training? Yes, no. Okay, that is one thing. In case I need a training, which technology should I take the training in? There are so many in the market. Which training institute? Where do I go for the training? Do I take a training from X institute or the Y institute? Why? What should be the reason? What should be the criteria of selecting the training institute? That is something which goes into mind, because there are so many available in the market. Understand your trainer, understand your training program, and so you would want to know a little more about your trainer. You would want to know about the training program that you're going to attend, and you would also want to know a few other details. So this is all what we are going to talk about. Okay. So here it is. Here we go. First question that you have: do I need a training? Okay. Whether you admit this or not, the fact remains that this is a question that always keeps on running in our mind. Do I actually need a training? Yes, no. Can I manage without training? The answer to that is, if you are in it. So this is something which is my favorite. If you are in it, information technology, you need it. Interminable training. So endless training is required if you are in information technology field. Someone said that he is into testing. Few years of experience in testing, right? So if I have few years experience, don't I need a training program? If I am a fresher, don't I need a training program? Training is required for everyone. So training is something which is interminable into this IT field. Okay. So you cannot think of not taking up training and your growth. Your growth will become stagnant if you do not take up training, or if you are not upgrading yourself. So that is the question which needs to be answered. And if you still have doubt, please take it from me. Out of my experience, training is something that is definitely required. Now, once that question is answered, which technology we need the training in? Now, the technology which you need the training in is pretty much, something which pretty much depends on your personal interest as well as market demand. Okay. Sometimes what happens is we go too much by the market demand, and we do not follow our interest. So that is not the right choice. So you should always, go by your interest first and then by the market demand. So whatever is in demand in the market and whatever is your interest, both these things should go hand in hand, right? So your interest, I'm pretty sure you guys are interested, and that is the reason why you people are here. And market demand is Hadoop. Hadoop is not one of the best, it is the best technology in the market at the current scenario. Talk about India, talk about US, talk about the jobs perspective, talk for the learning perspective, right? And the biggest advantage that you have with the Hadoop technology at this point of time is the companies are moving towards big data. I will tell you, in case we are not aware of what is big data, what is Hadoop, what is the difference, I will tell you about that. So now the companies are approaching, this method of storing huge amount of data. So big data is present, big data is future, right? And when companies have huge amount of data, then Hadoop is something that is going to flourish like anything. So this is a technology which is into its initial stage. So you easily have a scope of looking at a long-term career into this. But again, is Hadoop something which you learn and you will be, you do not have to learn anything for next 20 years? Is that the case? So that is not the case. Even if you learn Hadoop, after a few years again you will have to go and learn something else. Maybe after 8 years or 10 years. But current market, current demand is too good. Okay. Now, which training institute do I pick? Right. So the next question, once you have decided on the technology, once you have decided on the part that you need a training, the next question comes to mind is which training institute do I need to go for? Right. So the questions that you might have in mind is, am I joining the right training company? You will think of it. Will they offer the right course content? Will their training help me make a career? So after the training, will I be able to make a career into it? Will I get a good trainer? Do they possess training experience? What is the value add that I get? Will I receive any post-training support? So after the training is over, will the company provide me any support and all? So here are the answers to your questions. First thing, you are gonna learn it from the leading online and corporate training provider company, right? So Wikitrainings is one of the leading training provider companies, not in India, across globe, specialized in the online training and corporate trainings. The course content, the biggest concern is training everyone is giving, right? But what is exactly being trained? So our courses are widely accepted by the biggest IT companies. We do corporate trainings for companies like IBM, Accenture, Capgemini, Deloitte. So our training programs are accepted by these big IT companies. Okay. About making a career, our training programs have been designed to prepare professionals. So that is what we do. Our core business comes from these 25 associated recruiting companies in US. So we are associated to more than 25 recruiting companies in US and we train their resources, and these resources are then placed into jobs. So the training is designed in such a way so that the resource becomes hireable or recruitable. So that is the focus. The trainers are highly experienced. So am I. I will talk about my experience in some time. And we have already delivered trainings for more than 50 companies and delivered trainings to more than 1500 individuals. So that is again huge amount of experience. It's not that we are going to do the training for the first time and we do not have enough experience, right? So out of our experience, we have figured out what the candidates actually look for, what sort of value add they look for, what is going to be beneficial for the candidate. So few things which we have come up with, like, let me give you a simple example, which we understand, you might not have even thought of it. If you go for a training program, think of it. If you go for a training program, the training program is, let's say, for a month. You completed the training program every day, you went to the session, you attended it, and you were pretty, disciplined candidate, you did not miss a session. So everything is fine, you did it pretty well. End of the training, once you have done with this 1 month of training, there's a time when you will start preparing for your job and all, right? Is there a possibility that when you, after a month, when you start looking back into the topics which were covered in the start of the training or maybe the middle of the training, you might have forgotten a few of them? Is there a possibility? The answer is yes, until and unless you are not a computer. We are human beings, right? We are human brains. We have to take care of a lot of things. So the possibility is there that you forget on a few things, a few concepts, and you need a revision. Now, who takes care of your revision? You went to the training program. You're done with the training program, right? This is a challenge that most of our candidates are facing. So that is the reason why what we have done is we have come up with this option. What is that option that we have? We provide recorded sessions for your review. This is something big. Earlier we used to charge for it. Now we have started providing it free of cost. Recorded session for recordings of all the sessions, free of cost, lifetime. Not for a month, not for 2 months, lifetime. Right? So that is what we are now offering. So once you're done with the training, any point of time, you do have that option of going to the recordings and listening to those, right? Training material, we have highly customized training material which have been provided, designed to be provided to the corporates. As we said, we have done corporate trainings and all. So the training material which we share with them, we will share the same quality of training material with you guys as well, so that is helpful, right? Post training support is provided. So once you are into the training program, we provide you the post training support where we try to help you understand things, learn things, okay? And the biggest thing is that where you get stuck, if you get stuck somewhere, you always can come back to us, ask your questions, so post training also we do not leave you alone, okay? Projects are explained during this training program, and practical concepts are also discussed during the training. So we try and make sure that the practical concepts are being discussed during the training program. So we do not take you through only the simple concepts or the basic concepts and no practical knowledge and all, because that is the most important thing which you will require when you go for a job. Now here we are. So here we start with my introduction, right? So I'm going to be the trainer for this technology. So I think you must have received the course catalog. In that there is a little brief about me. So I'll just take you through the training program. Basically, I would not want to talk about myself at a length, but I would definitely want to talk about the training program a little bit. But before I move into the training program, I just want to give you some idea on what is Hadoop, what is big data. Let us understand that, fine. And then we will go into the course details and we will talk about that part, right? So for that, I will just come out of this PPT. So now the biggest questions that you might have. Everywhere I am hearing about this Hadoop, big data. What is this? What is Hadoop? What is big data? Are they same? Are they brothers? Are they friends? They do not know each other. What is the thing, right? So that is what we start thinking. You might have this question. You keep on hearing another terminology, cloud computing along with this. Is cloud computing same as Hadoop? Is cloud computing same as big data? What is the thing, right? So let me clear some air here. Big data. So we'll start with big data. What is big data? As the name suggests, huge amount of data. So this is no technology. This is nothing. This is simply a terminology. Big data. Huge amount of data. Why huge amount of data? From where this huge amount of data came? Was it not there earlier? Why do we hear about it, all of a sudden in last few years? Why have we started hearing about it? The answer is, nowadays the way companies do business is changing. So there is a big transformation in the way companies are doing business.
अरे रंगल में यहाँ से आवाज बढ़ाने का कोई नहीं है क्या?
Just give me 1 second. Hello, yes, Shailesh.
कहाँ पे है क्या बात? मतलब तारीख मैं नहीं जानता हूँ.
तारीख नहीं पता?
तारीख.
Okay, no worries. Shailesh, if you can hear me, I have muted you. You can continue to listen to the session, and in case you have any question, please write it in the chat window. Okay, Shailesh? Thank you. Okay. So this big data thing, that is what we are talking about, right? So big data is what? Huge amount of data. Data is a requirement for any company, any business. That's correct. But why are we hearing about big data all of a sudden in the last few years? Why were people not talking about it, earlier? People were not talking about big data earlier because earlier the requirement of data was not that much. Okay. Nowadays, with that increased customer delight kind of a concept, customer satisfaction. So companies are going to any level to help their customers. Okay, they want to store every bit of information related to the customer, and we are moving a little more on the what do you say, we are moving a little more, or we are becoming a little more computer dependent or internet dependent. So we want to see each bit of information available online, kind of thing, right? So now the requirement for storing data has increased, in a, exponentially things have increased, right? So just take a very simple example. Think of Facebook. We all use Facebook, right? Have you ever thought how much data Facebook might have? Have you thought that? How many users they have? So every user has some space on Facebook. Have you ever thought how much data Google might have? Or have you ever thought how much data your bank might be having? Earlier, things were slightly different. Now things are that, okay, the bank tracks every transaction, the way you are spending. Have you ever thought how much data your telephone service provider might be having? Right? They have so much of data, and nowadays the requirement is not just in storing the data. Data was stored earlier also. Nowadays, there is a stiff competition. Because of that, they need to do analysis on that data on a continuous basis. So based on the analysis which is being done, it is always taken to the customer, and the products or the services are designed in that way. Have you ever noticed one small thing, that when you start making STD calls more, you start receiving messages from them that, okay, this is the STD pack, you can start using it. We receive these kind of things, right? How do they get to know that? Because they keep on doing constant analysis on the data. So data is not just for storage now. It's not that, okay, when you put the data in some hard disk and keep that hard disk somewhere else. No. It is required for doing constant analysis. Have you ever seen that, okay, if you want to check your status update that you did on Facebook in 2010, you can go back and check it instantly. Does it say that, okay, you cannot check it from 2010 because that is too old? No. So that is the thing. Now the requirement for the data from the companies has increased huge. So it has become huge. Because of that, we have big data concept here, right? Now when you have so much of data, now that is the challenge. That is not the technology, or that is not the solution. So how do you deal with that much of data? Okay, that is where the companies are stuck. So how do they actually utilize which technology? How do they utilize that, and how do they use technology to get into that part, right? So for discussing that, we have one more speaker with us. Samar, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yes. So Samar is there. So Samar will take us through this Hadoop thing. So I just told you about what big data actually is. Now, when we're talking about this big data thing, there are 3 V's of big data, right? So the data, what is the challenge actually? You might be thinking that, okay, if there is huge amount of data, what is the big deal in that? What is the challenge? I have 500 MBs of movies, 500 GB of movies stored. I'm an individual. If I can take care of that, why can't the company take care of the huge amount of data? So it is not just about the data storage. Okay, there are a few concepts which are associated with that, right? So these 3 V's are basically the
Apart from that, our system
These are basically the 3 big challenges: the volume of the data, velocity with which the data needs to travel, and the variety of the data. So huge amount of data is just one aspect of it, but the data processing velocity also needs to be fast. It cannot when you put a status on Facebook. Have you ever seen Facebook saying that there are too many users, it will take 2 days for your status to be posted to your friend? That does not happen, right? So that is the velocity, because the processing, no matter how much data a company has, the processing has to be fast. Nowadays everyone wants the fast processing thing. Variety of the data. Now it is not just about the structured data, it is about unstructured data as well. right? So I'll pass it on to Samar. The Samar is, again, one of the most experienced professionals on big data Hadoop in India, and we are very fortunate that we have Samar with us in this session. So Samar, you would like to take it over from here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So, guys, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah,
So,
we can.
yeah, you can hear. Yeah, okay. So, sorry, guys. Actually, I joined a little bit late. There was some issues with the network, so I had to use my phone, and then I had to create a Wi-Fi hotspot. So, and then I managed to get back to this call. So, I just saw the introduction given by Jeet already. So, I think you guys have some idea already. So I will just briefly tell about myself before I can just give you a very, very short introduction on what it's going to be like, learning big data and why should you learn big data as such. So my name is Samar, and I have around 10 years of experience in the industries, and I'm one of the early starters in Hadoop and big data technology. So almost 5 to 6 years back, I started exploring this particular technology. So before that, I was a plain Java, J2E, Spring, Hibernate kind of developer, and then I saw this phase where we had to process lots and lots of data, and the choices which we had that time was Hadoop. So that was not an obvious choice at that time, but certainly it is an obvious choice right now. So there was a time when we were using it for small POCs, and just for fun, we were just trying to explore. But going forward, it has matured a lot, and a lot of companies are using it right now. So then I hopped a lot of companies. Then I worked in Yahoo, and then a lot of other companies. And so I can tell you that a lot of companies are already using it, or in the process of adapting Hadoop. Okay. So the reason we learn Hadoop is because there is a big wave around processing big data. So big data, like the word itself is very clear what it means. It's basically large amount of data. So this large amount of data was always there, but tactfully we used to ignore those data. So previously, when we had large amount of data, we either used to archive it, or we just used to historically not take those data. We used to just take the recent data and not worry about the historic data. But with the internet boom and with the social media boom, this amount of data is growing exponentially. Okay, so it's not like initially it was growing linearly. Okay, so mostly it was transaction data, but now it is most of the unstructured data. So like click logs or web logs and so on. Okay, so now with the cutthroat competition between the big companies like Facebook, Yahoo, Twitter, Google, so most people don't want to ignore any drop of data they get into their systems, right? So they need ways where they can process the entire data without having to compromise the accuracy, right? So there are already existing systems which could probably do it, maybe not at that scale, but still they can manage to do it. But then the problem happens when the data still begins to grow. So maybe you somehow manage to process 500 terabytes of data. But tomorrow, after a year, it might be more. It might be 600, 700 terabytes. What do? Do you still go and spend more hardware? But hardware is not going to scale so much because hardware is not developing as fast as we want to, right? At the same time, it is very costly affair too, right? So then the technologies like Hadoop, MapReduce, and similar technologies came up, which gave you ways where you can process this large amount of data in the minimum cost, right? So Hadoop is not a hardware piece, it's a software piece, but it sits on the hardware. So the quality of Hadoop or the power of Hadoop is that it will help you use the cheapest commodity hardware available and give you almost close to infinite scale. So when I say infinite scale, of course it's a theoretical thing. It's not that you can scale it infinitely, but it is designed to scale a lot, right? So much that we haven't still got a bottleneck where we can say that we cannot process that amount of data. Okay, so big data is a very, very big umbrella. It is a subject. It's a department of computer science. So it's a very, very big, what I would say, a topic today. And under that, there's lots and lots of technology. Not only Hadoop, there are lots of other technologies. So there are technologies which deal in processing unstructured data. There are ways where there are no SQL databases. There are stream accesses. There are things which are built around Hadoop, which is helping you to use Hadoop and so on, right? But whenever you talk about Hadoop, the first thing which comes into mind is, whenever you talk about big data, the first thing which comes into your mind is Hadoop, because it is an open source framework. It is one of the most important and most adapted. Most people use this framework, so it's very, very common. Second thing, it has a very, very large community, right? So there are lots and lots of people who are writing applications on top of Hadoop. There are lots of people who are using Hadoop, or they are helping develop Hadoop and so on. And there are very, very big companies who are using it, including Yahoo, Nokia, Google and so on, Facebook, Twitter and so on, right? So, the course, little bit, I'm not sure if that has already been covered, but the idea of this course is to basically run Hadoop, right? So when we talk about Hadoop, Hadoop would basically mean how you would process that data, what is the philosophy behind processing that data, how is it able to achieve that, it's a free software, anyone can download and use it, but still why is it so powerful, where people like Informatica, Oracle is finding it a threat, what is the power of it, it is a simple architecture, but it is still helping us to scale, right? So we will talk about the architecture. We'll surely talk about the type of data, like Jit already mentioned the variety. So why it is so important, because most of the systems are very, very schema driven, and we will see that how Hadoop is basically not so much worried about the schema. So of course we can process schema driven, but we can also process which are not schema driven data, right? So unstructured data. Okay, the velocity, sure, the time and everything. So all of those things we would see, and we will see basically that how these things are being done, or how these things are being achieved in Hadoop. So for that we have to go little deep on the architecture part. So we will see how the storage is happening. So Hadoop takes care of two broad things, the storage and the processing. So storage is basically taken care by the file system called HDFS, which is short form of Hadoop file system, and the processing is basically taken care by MapReduce. Okay, so we are going to talk about all of these in detail. I'm not going to, I'm sure we cannot cover them in the half an hour demo which we are having right now. Yeah, so that is going to be Hadoop, and then the Hadoop ecosystem. So the Hadoop ecosystem, there is Pig, there is Hive, which are built on top of Hadoop. There are some very, very popular NoSQL databases called HBase. So we're going to see how to move data in and out of Hadoop. So there are different frameworks which have been written around it. Okay, so we're going to see a real-time example of how, if you ever have to write a application on Hadoop, how would you design it? Where would you use Pig? Where would you use Hive? Where you will use Hadoop? Where you will not use Hadoop? How would you basically integrate it with your existing system? So just because Hadoop is there, it doesn't mean that you will throw away your Oracle or MySQL or PHP systems. They would still exist, but they will have a certain role to play. So we will see how all of these are basically going to coexist, right? So when you go to your company and you have to help use Hadoop, so you're not going to say that, throw away everything, we'll use Hadoop. So there would be a way where you would say, okay, this part needs to be done with Hadoop because that's what Hadoop is meant for. And this part is probably going to be an OLTP or OLAP application, which is still existing. So we're going to see how we are going to integrate all of them together, right? So this is very, very broad, what I would say, outlook of what you can expect in this course, and things which you would learn in probably the next 30 to 40 hours if you choose this course. So guys, if you're still hearing and if you have any question, probably I'm not sure how you can go ahead and ask if you'll have anything.
Yeah,
is there a way where people can ask me questions or they can type me? Yeah.
Yeah. You're hearing it from Samar. So thanks a lot, Samar, for this brilliant presentation. So guys, as you just heard from Samar, he is one of the most experienced Hadoop professionals that we have. So any questions related to the technology, anything that you have, you can just put any questions related to your course, the training program. You can put that thing as well. So I will be waiting for you to just type it in the chat window. I'm not gonna unmute everyone at once because that will make things difficult. Yeah, Yogendra has a question. So Yogendra,
Yeah, surely. Sure.
you
Go ahead, guys.
yeah, Yogendra, you can ask your question. You're unmuted now.
Sir, actually I am freshers, so is there any chance to get in that field?
Okay. So I think Yogendra's question, I'll just repeat it so that even Yogendra knows that I've understood your question and probably others can hear it too. So Yogendra is asking that he's a fresher and probably learning Hadoop, will it help? Right? Yogendra, is that your question?
Yeah.
So Yogendra, that's a very nice question, and probably that concerns lot of freshers because I've been training for almost 2 years right now. I've been training for a lot of other institutes also. So there are lots and lots of people who are freshers and they join this league of learning big data. So it is very, very useful, and the reason I'm saying it's very useful is because this is one of the very, very niche areas where people are still exploring or people have already explored. So as a fresher, obviously you would have some programming. Okay, so there is some noise. Okay, so as a fresher, obviously you would know the common or the basics of computer science and programming, so that would anyway be required. But then there would be every fresher who would be knowing this particular skills, right? So when you have a skill like Hadoop or big data, this always helps you in differentiating between the other people, right? And this is a very, very growing technology, and you will find several of blogs probably when we, if you take up the course and we are able to connect with each other, I'll send you blogs and posts where you can easily see that how exponentially the need of Hadoop and the, Hadoop developers are growing. Right, so probably maybe 5 years back there would be maybe 5 or 6 companies who were using Hadoop, and today probably you can say 500 or thousands of companies are using Hadoop, right? So surely this technology is going to help a lot for especially who want to grow, in their career, because this is going to give you a very, very niche edge. Even if you're not using, even if you, for example, let's take you go to a company and they are still not using Hadoop, they would always be impressed by the fact that you know a technology which is, as I would say, niche as Hadoop. So knowing Hadoop, having it on your resume is very, very, very good. Especially when I recruit for my company and I see people coming in. Many people, they are not even aware of Hadoop. So that's a very, very, what I would say a turn off, that how do you not know this technology. So surely knowing this technology will help you a lot in finding the job. It will help you in your career. It will surely help you in starting a project. So when you go to a project and if you're working in Hadoop, Pig or any kind of Hive or HBase, any kind of projects, I'm sure it will help you. So surely it will help you,
But as a freshers, there are so many companies they require only the experienced guys, not they don't give a chance to freshers.
No, that is not true. See, of course there would be need. See, the reason they always ask for experienced guy whenever it comes to Hadoop is because Hadoop is still a niche technology, right? Still they don't have faith enough that a fresher can come up and pick it up so easily, right? Because it is still a very, very, what I would say a little complicated compared to, your web programming or something like that. Okay. But whenever, there is a existing team. So for example, probably when they are setting up a new team, they would be little hesitant to pick up a fresher. Okay, because a fresher may not be able to drive that project, right? But when the project is a little stable, when they already have senior people, they would surely like to have a lot of junior people, right? So when they select junior people, they would always, prefer people who have some knowledge, because if you don't know anything, then when you come into the company, you have to be trained, right? And that's a cost for the company, that's time wasted for the company. So having an experience or having a training is always going to help you. That's surely going to help you. But if you say that, okay, I'm a fresher, will they prefer me over experienced guy? The answer is obviously no, right? They will obviously, like to give a chance to a experienced guy. But then there would be, surely there will be a lot of openings for freshers too, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Any other question, guys?
And sir, I ask one more question. I am from electrical department, so I know only C++ little bit. So what else I need? Yeah.
Okay, so that's a very good question, and I think you have asked in the right time, because people usually don't ask it in the right time, and they ask when they're on the middle of the course, and then they feel very dejected that, you know, half the course is done and I'm not able to catch up. So if you're learning this technology, good that you know C, C++. So what in terms of programming language, Hive and Pig, they have their own programming language. Okay, so for that you don't have to worry about any background. I will teach everything on the class itself. Okay, Hive is going to be more of SQL. So SQL, almost everyone is aware. Okay, even if you're not aware, it's okay. You don't have to be a PhD in that. A little bit, whatever I teach you, that is enough. Apart from that, most of the Hadoop is basically based on Java. Okay, so if you know Java, it's very, very good. If you don't know Java, then you can learn the basics. Okay, if you learn the basics, because I'm not going to teach you how to program, right? I'm not going to teach you, Java. I'm going to teach you MapReduce. I'm going to teach you HBase, right? So for that, if you know that technology, that it will be easy for you to catch. If you don't know, then you can just quickly learn it, the basics, because you don't have to learn very advanced concepts in Java. Especially if you know C, C++, Java is just, I can say a little bit twisted version of C++. So if you know that, you can very easily pick up Java. So it will not be a problem at all. I'm sure you guys are very, very smart, and especially if you're coming from college, you have a very sharp mind. So you can pick it up. And if you know C++, learning, see, when I joined my first company, obviously I didn't know Java, right? I was also C++ background. So it didn't take much time, because I know that, okay, if this is what in C++, it will look this way. Okay, so the look is different in Java, but it is pretty much one-to-one mapping. Okay. So if you know Java, it is very good. If you don't know, you can just pick it up. So don't worry about that.
Okay.
And just to add to what Samar said, we do understand that there can be people who are willing to learn Hadoop, and they might not have any experience on Java, or they might not know the basics of Java. For that, what we do is we do provide video training completely free of cost to the people who enroll for Hadoop. So we do understand that requirement, and that video training will be provided absolutely free of cost to you. So that is a big advantage that we are going to offer from our side.
Right.
I think Shailesh is asking a question here. So Shailesh says recruitment depends on type of project they have, like Pig or Hive, as said, or So that is his question, I guess.
Okay, so Sander, again a very nice question, because people think that, a lot of people ask me that, okay sir, I'm not very comfortable in Hadoop. If I just learn Pig, is it enough? So the short answer is that there is no such opening where they will only say I want a Pig specialist or I want a Hive specialist. So typically they basically ask for a big data specialist. Okay, so when they ask big data, they typically expect you to know almost little bit of everything. Okay, you don't have to know PhD in one place, but if you know a little bit of everything, it's pretty much okay. So the short answer is that there would not be a Hive or Pig opening. There would be a big data opening, or big data specialist, or data specialists, or data scientists, or something like that. And based on that, they would expect little bit of everything. Okay, and when we would learn Pig and Hive, we would realize that Pig and Hive are so simple technology that for that there is not going to be one single opening or a job profile. Right? It's something which you have to know as a part of your job, not like like there's a Pig specialist or there's a Hive specialist. So there would be a big data specialist, which would need pretty much the things which I would teach you in the course. Any other questions, guys?
Anyone? Any questions?
Yeah, and you will provide practical knowledge also, means practical software working.
Okay, so the question is, are you going to provide you environment, or you're saying the software?
Yeah, means the practical knowledge. Theoretical you will
Okay,
teach
yeah.
first, but what about practical?
Okay, right. So from what I can say from my side is that I am very, very a hands-on guy. Okay, I'm still till date. Before talking to you, I was writing some big data programs in my organization. Okay, so I totally believe that until unless you guys are comfortable writing code, I would not be very comfortable or very proud to say that I have taught you anything. So my approach is always to teach people on a more practical approach, right? Maybe I will teach you a little less on the theoretical part and spend more on the practical, but my approach is always to teach more of practical stuff. So that's why people who are not very, who don't like code or like to code, or who doesn't like practical stuff, they would struggle a little bit. But let me tell you that end of the day, it matters how much you can code and not how much you have just learned, from the books, right? So I would surely make sure that you learn enough of hand coding. Most of the times what I do is I divide the class into 50-50. So first half I just teach, and second half I actually show the program. So I show a demo, I run those programs, I show the output. Okay. And if you guys have a similar environment in your end, you all can also try it out. So sometimes people also try out with, as I am trying out. So if I'm running a pig script, they also can try out some pig scripts, that is all up to you. Some people may not be interested, they might just want to see a demo. So everyone can do as per their own comfort level, right? But typically the way I do is I try to teach half theoretical, which would basically cover the syntax, which would basically cover the architecture, the basic, overall learning. And then 50% or the next part, I try to show you a demo or how to run that script, how to write, how to do, what are the errors I get, how to solve those errors, and so on. Right? And I would also spend some time to show how to set up Hadoop and how do you need to get up. So after the course, you all can always go back, see those videos, try those out offline. Right? Does that make sense, guys?
Yep, makes a lot of sense for, I think, everyone here. Okay, so one last question, anyone? Rajkumar, you there?
Hello.
Side man. Yeah, Rajkumar, please.
Hello.
Yeah, Rajkumar.
Yeah, Rajkumar, go ahead.
Yeah. We got the. Actually, I'm hearing the answers, and I have some idea about the big data, because so I got the answers that I can say.
Okay, sure.
And one question, whether is it fine for me, because of having the 8 years of experience in testing side, if I move to that side, is there any, how are the opportunities, whether I can sustain or how it will be?
So you want to continue in testing or you want to move into development? Because there is lots of opportunity for testing on big data side also. So what is your approach? Do you want to continue big data with testing, or you want to do big data as a developer?
I want, my plan is to move to development.
Yeah, so see, that is all depends on company to company. That no one is going to stop you. The skills which I'm going to provide is mostly, the basics and the programming part.
Okay.
So if you acquire those skills, I'm sure you can go and do testing, because I'm not going to teach you any testing specific skills or QA specific skills. I'm going to teach you things which would require to understand big data, right? So with these skills, you can choose to become a program manager, you can also become an architect, you can also become a developer, you can also become a QA, right? So it all depends on you.
Okay.
Right. But if you want to stick to your QA role also, you can do that. So that all depends on your interest and whatever you would like to do in future. So it totally depends on you.
Yeah. Okay.
There is one question that this guy Shailesh has asked us. What is the job role of an analyst or administrator? Job profile of an analyst or administrator?
Okay, so analyst is a very, very wide term, which can be very technical, which can be very non-technical. So there are analysts who don't look at the technology at all. They would probably just fire some queries and get results and, just view charts and all those things. So, you cannot define analyst under one role. There are lots and lots of different types. There are people who are doing just data analysts, so they don't even worry whether you're running big data or Hadoop or Informatica or HBase or anything. So there are whereas there are people who are actually writing pig scripts, Hive scripts. So it's a very, very wide thing. I probably will not be able to comment unless you specifically say what type of analyst you are saying. If you're talking about admin, in admin, if you're talking about, there are Hadoop admin or something like that. So typically a Hadoop admin, we call them grid operations in my organizations, and in my previous organization also we call them grid operations. So their typical role is basically to maintain the cluster, right? So Hadoop is a very, very distributed system. So there would be thousands or hundreds, or based on the company requirements, there would be lots and lots of machines which are running in Hadoop. So these admin people would be basically responsible for setting up Hadoop, upgrading Hadoop, making sure it runs. If anything fails, then getting it rectified and so on. So admin people typically tend to maintain the Hadoop cluster. Does that make sense? And I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, I think he has understood that part. He says thanks. All right. So the last thing that we're going to talk about is the next training program that we're going to start. So we are going to start our next training batch, which will be weekend batch, and we're going to start that on 5th of July. So 5th of July is the date when we are starting it, and our sales team will again reach you to discuss about the enrollment